Hello, dear hearts. So, we're currently in this key conjunction between Uranus and Mars in Taurus, which is also activating the fixed star Algol, which translates to Medusa as a fixed star and not as an asteroid. So, yeah, I would love to talk to you about this, but I'm thinking about the transit of Uranus and Taurus and the way it has dominated Taurus and will dominate Taurus for 7 years, but in an 8-year total circumference. And, 2026 is massive. We have some massive outer planet changes, and that's why the ancients have referred to that year as being quite a dangerous one. So Uranus will take hold of Gemini then, making an entry or an initial appearance in 2025, which is next year. And as you know, this year is really speeding past our eyes. So it's like saying, Uranus will give us a glimpse of its time in Gemini tomorrow, right? That's how quick time is moving. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Uranus being also a liberator of time, of the general circumference, cyclicness, what we feel is in motion like a wheel. Uranus has its way, Uranus, has its way of not letting it be in that motion of what we understand. It can spin it backwards. It can even change the way a cycle is experienced, in its stages and levels. What it does is it probably kind of knocks us off our course a bit, to only bring an understanding that is very great, especially for the future, if we look at futuristic results, because everything we're doing, everything we're thinking, it has a consequence, as the ancients have said, specifically Gautama Siddhartha. So Uranus, to some astrological belief systems, can be seen as malefic. Like if we look at Babylonian astrology and what Babylonian astrology says for Mars and Mars's relationship to planets in general. But Uranus specifically, when we look at ancient astrology, being only discovered in the traditional astrological system not that long ago as a planet, Uranus as an influence in ancient Greece, and the understanding of Uranus, the sky, force of sky, has been there always. It's not something that's new. So there are a lot of debates about when exactly was Uranus discovered, actually. But yes, in a Western context, in modern science and astronomy, it wasn't that long ago. And anyway, it's helpful to just kind of look at this last week in your calendar, so early days of July 2024, and keep an eye on how that ongoing theme takes you, because as we approach the double full moon in Capricorn, which is totally different theme and message as this conjunction and energy and frequency, but because they're both in earth signs, Taurus being an earth sign, Capricorn being an earth sign, the earth, as we know, is being shook. And this can also, on a general level, when we look at world predictions, worldwide predictions, means earthquake. So July, earthquakes, how that can happen symbolically, how that can happen for us as individuals in our lives, how the earth gets shaken under us, and literally in the world, and touch wood, it's not the case, but there are these eruptions anyways. We can see with the volcanoes going off in various places on this earth around about the same time, early July 2024. So that's also very significant to, Mars being very fiery in general, currently ruled by Aries, or I guess placed well in Aries. But the ancients would see Mars being the ruler of Scorpio. So in saying this, Aries being the Greek name for the planet Mars, Aries, still as a star sign as well as a planet, they go together. So that's very fiery. So volcanic energy erupting there, early July. I mean, it's quite clear that it has a lot to do with these planetary movements. So take a look at your first week of July, look at the theme, and without fixating too much on the Capricornian double full moon, which is, one of the most practical, intensive full moon cycles, from one full moon to the next, both being in Capricorn. Very practical, very materialistic, very, revealing in terms of what the beast is in our lives, where that bondage appears in our lives, what is holding us back in our lives, where is that, kind of like seductive devil, right? So basically what keeps us trapped, what keeps us bound. And that's one of the teachings of that double full moon in Capricorn. But in saying this, there's also the materialistic side of it, where there's a lot of teaching around work and hard work, and what can happen through hard work, through effort, not through contemplation and idolizing and daydreaming, but through actually laying the ground and getting the work done and being active to get the work done. So, that's there, that's happening. We're coming to terms with a lot of our inner, outer, and hidden obstacles. Some cultures would say demons, right? Daimon in ancient Greek, again, which isn't necessarily what modern understanding of demon means, but it does relate to the word distraction. So, what kind of gets us hooked into things that are, whether nice or not, still lure us into all sorts of attachments and binding us. So that's going on. But now we have this Uranus-Mars conjunction major right now, within a, not even a 1 degree separation of Uranus and Mars in conjunction in Taurus, as well as the fixed star Algol, which translates to Medusa as a fixed star. And that's what I prefer to call Algol, because Algol in the Arabian language is quite, ancient Arabian understanding, it's quite a malefic, kind of negative word, for a star. And I can understand why. Medusa energy is misunderstood. And there is that awful side to it, of course, because she's a protector. And generally most people only see the awful side when we talk about patrons of this earth and real protectors of this earth, and protectors in general, of so many things. If we look at the myth, and if we look at the stories around the Medusa, mystery school, which I have released, which is very lengthy, just a little snippet, the Medusa myths and stories, worldwide. It's not just limited to what we understand based on Latin scriptures or ancient Greek scriptures, but there's just so much more. There's so much more to Medusa. If we look at the deserts of the Middle East, if we go up further into the East in general, and the Northeast, and if we just kind of explore how worldwide the Medusa theme is, you'll be amazed at her tale, her story, and her role over the course of history. So her as a fixed star, combined with Uranus, combined with Taurus, is for July, you know, and with Mars telling us that, okay, well, yes, it's good to just take it easy, yes, stay grounded, especially from the 11th of July until the 19th of July. It's very good to stay grounded, take it easy, you know, not jump to any course of action or feel like you have to push forward to do anything, right? Because a lot of accidents can happen, a lot of sudden changes, a lot of shifts that will be surprising and shocking, especially if you're in motion, especially if you are heading somewhere or trying to get somewhere. You got to be careful. Careful on the roads, careful in your travels, careful in your tracks. And most importantly, careful because there is an emotional component that is very deep down in our guts that has a lot to do with repressed rage, okay, that is also linked to Medusa. Repressed rage that doesn't necessarily come from that dark point of a shadow side when we look at the Lethean theme. It's more about what we dislike, things that we're not happy with. And imagine, right? You don't need to do the shadow work, so to speak, with Medusa, because it's not about a shadow work oriented journey when we're working with her astrologically. It's actually simply that suppressed rage that is belly deep, things that we dislike. So where we've been wronged and we have kind of fought for our peace and have obtained it over a course of time, but it's still wrong. It still seems wrong. It still seems, not ethical or just, so to speak, coming from your own personal experience with how Medusa influences you in your star map, okay? And that can still be sitting there in the gut. And, our whole digestive tract with these types of conjunctions gets bombarded. So we'll be extra sensitive in our stomachs, and we have to be super careful, like I said, from July the 11th until the 19th of July 2024. But yes, careful in our movement, where we're going, on the roads. You'll see a lot of people on the roads making sudden movements, when they're driving or just doing things that you'd say, why are you doing that? A lot of chaos in motion. You'll see it. Chaos that is surprising, that is sudden, that does not seem orderly or organized, and in a speedy way, right? So there'll be a lot of, speed. You'll feel that. People rushing, but at the same time, it not making sense and not being orderly. And there will be anxiousness in the atmosphere. This message continues on until the end of July, in the way Mars and Uranus work together in Taurus. But there are much stronger messages too, apart from the surface general, immediate understanding, which has got a lot to do with also the fear of change, the fear of external intervention, whether it be divine, malefic, or what have you, just not wanting to be touched or poked or provoked to have a development take place in life. And generally, if in Taurus, it's like earthquake. You feel it under you, shaking you in where you feel stable, Uranus and Taurus. Your resources, your livelihood, your financial situation, your losses, your gains, what you own, what you have, what belongs to you, your money incoming and outgoing, your emotional security, your emotional safety, your practical security, your practical safety, and the movement, the action involved in getting things done, like how it feels going to your job, or how it feels just being an active person in relationship to, what must take place for things to bear fruit and have results. Algol being there, the caution is that dislike, right? What we still haven't processed, what we still don't agree with, what we still find to us in our own personal relationship to Medusa Algol, at this juncture in our lives, unacceptable, not okay, right? So Medusa is protective. Medusa Algol is capable of honoring you if you honor and understand also where you've wronged people, where you have potentially, crossed the boundary of other people's limits. And it happens with us too. We feel that way. We feel in many ways that we have been, our lives or our circumstances have been breached. Someone's crossed the boundary, something's crossed the boundary. But we also have to look at where we've done that. You understand? And it's not, ultimately it's not even about right or wrong. It's about reflection here. So, Algol Medusa can bring forth that protection, can, give us the necessary, you could say, dose of medicine, right? Especially a dose of our own medicine, because we have to also be able to consume what we dish out. And in that way, we will be learning. But it's a tough time, this next couple of weeks, because you have to be very aware of the impulses that rise in your being and make you want to take action. And at the same time, you have to be capable of saying, wait a minute, where is this going to lead? Should I just sit it out and let things settle? Or do I do what I'm thinking, right? So definitely be a bit more patient, a bit more calm, and just always ask the question, can I consume what I dish out? Make it more about how you react versus what's actually happening to you. And then you always, end up the winner, because it's how you react, right, to whatever's taking place. So yeah, healing is possible, but it's uncomfortable healing in these next couple of weeks, because it's Uranus. It's waking you up, whether you like it or not, and it's in action. So it's a vivid, obvious awakening process, and it will be requiring you to have an involvement and an action involved spirit or kind of movement to you. But you've got to also be holding your careful side, very much. So you don't have any accidents, so you don't misunderstand things, or be disheartened unnecessarily, right? But yes, on a finale note of, I guess, conclusion, there is protection, and there's sudden bursts of very important understanding. So we have to be receptive to those, and be open to the sky, Uranus, the sky, and the energy of the planet Uranus, and how it wants us to have long-term understanding, not immediate understanding, and will provide that clarity and awakening in ways that are very surprising, that we might need a lot more time ahead of us to say, oh, okay, I get it now, right? And that's why it's good to just do our best. So last but not least, yes, financially we have to be careful in July, not take any major risks, and just, again, get the teachings and the message regarding what's taking place. You've had so much already show you in the early stages of July about where things are going. So as the month unravels, you've got to be aware of the continuation of that message. And as the month closes up, the overall double full moon in Capricorn, message will it'll bring a good, I guess, finale to also the conjunction, this key conjunctions teaching. There's a lot else happening that is also beneficial in the sky. This is not the only thing, but it does stand out right now. So I had to jump on in and say a few lines. So wishing you the best, and thank you so much, and may all be auspicious. Bye.